Hey guys, it's Brant, and I'm back with another 80s album, Retrospective. And the album I'm going to be talking about today is the album that, affected me so much as a young 11, 12-year-old kid. And I'm talking about this album right here, Motley Crue, Too Fast for Love. Let's get into it. Now this album, I've got some stats here about it. My first one I did, I left out a little bit too much stats. I do want to still put in a little bit of information about the album. And then just kind of go on with the retrospective part of it and still keep it short. This album was recorded originally in 1981 at Hit City West in LA. It was produced by Motley Crue. And they originally released it about 900 copies on their own record label, Leather Records, on November 10th, 1981. And then Elektra Records was signed the band the following year. And at that point, the album was remixed, re-recorded, and with a different track listing, it was partially re-recorded, remixed and partially re-recorded, with a slightly different track listing and different artwork, the red lettering on the cover, and a different interior photograph of the band. It has become the standard version, which all later reissues derive from. The remixed also removed "Stick to Your Guns," although it's featured as a bonus track on a version of the album. This is a great what I call Hollywood sleaze album. I was listening to this this week, and man, it just took me back so much to let's see. I think I acquired this sometime. I was probably around 13 years old, maybe pushing 14 when I got this album. And this is the front cover. This is the Elektra release. This is the back cover here. And this is the album. It's in a sleeve, just a white sleeve. And it's the Elektra. Mine's got some scratches on it. I just happened to see this the other day and I just grabbed it. But yeah, this album, it's the album that I started playing drums because of Peter Criss. I'd been an Elvis Presley fan up until when I'm still an Elvis fan, but Elvis passed away, and that's when I got my first Kiss album, and became a Kiss fan. Started playing drums because of Peter Criss, and you know, I started getting introduced to bands, you know, and when Kiss started getting a little soft in the early 80s, late 70s, early 80s, I started getting introduced to other bands, and bands like Ozzy and you know, stuff like that, Motley Crue. And Tommy Lee of Motley Crue was the second drummer that I point to as a major influence in my drumming style. I just loved the way he played. I still love the way he plays. And he is just a phenomenal drummer. He's not technical by no means, but just he knows what to play, when to play it. And on this album, he drums his ass off. Mick Mars plays great. Nicky played very simple bass back during this time. And I just remember this whole era of seeing the live wire video on MTV, and Mick Mars is bleeding the blood, and Nikki Sixx has the leather pants that's on fire, and you know, and I remember just seeing that and being like, wow, this is like Kiss Part 2, and it just blew my mind. And so I was an immediate fan. I'm a huge fan of this album. there is no bad tracks on this album. This album, I consider this album a masterpiece. There is no bad tracks on it. The production is raw, gritty. It's, sometimes not the best mix, sometimes not the best engineering, especially if you go and listen to some of the Leather Records releases. You can find those on YouTube. They're even more raw and more gritty and more unequally mixed, and but that's just the whole appeal of this album, is just its sound. When I listen to this album, I get transported back, and I can still hear me listening to this album and playing along to it, having the album going and having my headphones on, and I'm playing the drums, along to Tommy and trying to play the stuff that he played and everything. And I was, like I said, I'd been playing drums about maybe 3 or 4 years. And, and this album is the album that made me want to start a band. It's funny that when I discovered Kiss, and me and my sister used to always, I had an older brother who's 5 years older than me that was never into this kind of music, and so he wasn't into Kiss or anything. Me and my sister, who's about 2.5 years older than me, we used to always dress up like Kiss. Even when we wasn't putting the makeup on, we would pretend we were Kiss, and we would we'd turn the cassette player on, and we would pretend we were Kiss, and we'd pretend we were DJs, and we would play songs and stuff like that. But Kiss never really wanted. I started playing drums because of Peter Criss, but I never really wanted to join a band. It wasn't until I heard this album right here. Even when I heard Back in Black, Phil Rudd, God bless him, not the most technical drummer, all boom tap, but when I heard this band, and I heard this album, and I heard this guy right here, when I heard that guy right there play his ass off on this album, I was like, I want to join a band. So me and my childhood friend Chris, we started a band. And the very first band that we started, I can't even say the name of it because it's so derivative of, it's not PC at all. The very first band that we started, the name of it. And then we had bands, they changed, going through, I think we had bands named, Lethal Injection and, all kinds of stuff that you would, Grunt, all the 80's, either one word names or names that just sounded badass and stuff. So, but my childhood friend Chris, who's not with us anymore, God rest his soul, and I miss him every day. When I hear bands like Motley Crue, but when I hear bands like LA Guns, who he loved, or Typo Negative, who he introduced me to, bands like Nitro, which I'm going to cover their album too, and bands like Alice in Chains, that we were in bands together during all that time. We used to play the entire album of LA Guns' album front to back. We used to play this album front to back. So this album brings back so many memories of my early teen years, and it's the album that basically got me in bands, and put me in band all the way up to my band that I've been in since, off and on, and we're on hiatus. We're constantly going on hiatus, but Lydia's Bridge since the early 2000, late 90s, early 2000s. So yeah, which I drummed for that band. So like I said, I'm going to talk about the tracks really quick, and then we're going to get out of here. I want to disclaim there is no bad tracks on this album. There is no track that I do not like, okay? But if I got to put them in an order, if I've got to order them, and this is really hard because it was kind of really easy for me to pick my favorite song, and it was a little bit harder to pick my least favorite song, but still love. And then the songs in the middle, man, to find the order, I'd listen to the album, I'd put them, and then I'd change them, and I'd be like, oh, no, I like this in second. No, I like this in second. So, man, they're just all good. They're all good. But but I'm going to put them in an order. I'm going to show it here on the screen. So Livewire, hands down, my favorite song on the album. And I know that sounds cliche, but it is. It's so good. Number 2, Too Fast for Love. Freaking love Too Fast for Love. It's a great song. I remember the very first time I heard the Leather Records version of it, when it's got that beginning, that kind of bluesy, slow, when you're young and crazy. And the first time I heard it, I was like, what's this? And I didn't like it at first, but as I listened to it, it kind of grew on me. And and now whenever I hear this just kind of start off with a da na 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 na, I'm like, wait, where's the intro at? But I like both versions, but Too Fast for Love is my second favorite song. Those were easy. Livewire and Too Fast for Love. Third favorite song, Public Enemy Number 1. Public Enemy Number 1 is awesome. Fourth favorite song, Come On and Dance. You just gotta love Come On and Dance. You gotta love all these songs. If you don't, there's something wrong with you. Fifth song on the album for me, Merry Go Round. I love that. Merry Go Round and Round. I mean, it's just, the solo is awesome. It's just, the riffs are awesome. I get chills, man. Look at this. Chills. It's just friggin' awesome. I'm going to have to listen to this album when we get done. Number 6, Take Me to the Top. The way it starts. And it's got that long musical instrumental before Vince actually starts singing. Probably a minute into the song. But Take Me to the Top. Number 7, I got to get a piece of your action. I mean, it's just, like I said, starts the second side of the album, and it's just that build, and then that just that I want you, and that guitar, and it just sounds so sleazy and raunchy, and you feel like you should be screwing while you're listening to it. I mean, it's just because talking about a piece of your action, it's just an amazing song. Number 8, On with the Show. On with the Show, and I really like On with the Show. It's it's the end of the album. And I like that they put it at the end of the album. They could have put either Starry Eyes or On with the Show at the end of the album. But and then, of course, that leaves Starry Eyes as being my number 9. And as far as the other songs that used to be, was on the original Leather or didn't make it, I've heard, if you've ever listened, you need to find the version of Toast of the Town. That was really good. That was one of their beginning songs that they played. And, and the other song there that was cut off. And I'm not really a big fan of it. The, what was it called? Stick to Your Guns. I can kind of see why that got cut. I'm not a big fan of it. Some of you may be. But this version of this album right here, I prefer this version over the Leather version, even though I like both of them. But this is just the one that I heard first. I didn't hear the Leather version until later. I heard it existed. You have to remember, people, in 1983, we did not have the internet. We did not have YouTube. So we couldn't just pop up and go, oh, I want to hear the Leather Records version of Too Fast for Love. Or get on eBay or something and order it and have it, or Discogs and have it. If you didn't have it, you didn't have it. At least a 13-year-old kid didn't. And you didn't hear it. You couldn't just saturate yourself the way you can now. But this album right here kicks ass. Love this album. And like I said, this is the album that started me into wanting to be in a band and me forming a band. So anyway, that's my retrospectives for Motley Crue's Too Fast for Love. Put in the comments, tell me what you think about this album. What do you like about it? What do you don't like about it? If you're a fan of it, is this your favorite Motley record? I'm not going to say if it's my favorite Motley record yet, but is this your favorite Motley record? What songs do you like? What's your least favorite song? If you had to pick one, it's kind of like picking a least favorite kid. I got 5 kids, and sometimes sometimes it's easy to pick a least favorite, but I love them all, so it's like that. How do you pick a least favorite song on this album? And if you do, what is it? And any childhood memories you have, that's what this retrospective is about. Any childhood memories you have that are tied to this album and everything. And that's it for my retrospective of this album right here, which, God, I love this album. So, yeah, so Motley Crue, Too Fast for Love, that's my retrospective. I'm Brent. This is In My Head channel. This has been my favorite 80s albums retrospective. I appreciate you watching, and I'll see you next time.